Open-world games are everywhere, but some of the best ones were forgotten too quickly. Some launched at the wrong time, some got buried under bigger names, and some were judged before players even gave them a real chance. But inside these underrated worlds are lonely wastelands, strange cities, dangerous streets, and adventures that deserved way more attention. So today, we're looking at 15 open-world games that flew under the radar, but might just become your next obsession. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Assassin's Creed Syndicate arrived at the worst possible time when everyone was already tired of yearly Assassin's Creed releases, and because of that, people kind of brushed past one of the series' most underrated worlds. Victorian London here isn't just a pretty backdrop. It feels dirty, crowded, divided, and alive. The Thames looks grimy, the factories feel oppressive, the poorer districts are packed with desperation, and the game actually lets you feel the class tension running under the city instead of just mentioning it in some random codex entry. Playing as the Fry twins gives the whole thing a great rhythm too. Evie feels precise and stealthy, like every mission is a puzzle waiting to be solved, while Jacob brings that messy street gang chaos that makes taking over boroughs genuinely satisfying. And then there's the rope launcher, which completely changes how you move through London. Suddenly, rooftops, chimneys, and alleys become one giant playground. Syndicate didn't reinvent the franchise, but it gave us one of its best historical cities. And honestly, it deserved far more love than it got.
I see someone!
Mad Max. Mad Max might have had one of the worst release dates imaginable, dropping the same day as Metal Gear Solid 5, but honestly, that bad timing buried a game that deserved way more attention. This isn't an open world trying to look busy every 5 seconds, it's a dead, brutal wasteland. Empty in the right way, dry and hostile, like the world has already been picked clean and whatever's left is fighting over scraps. The storms roll in like the apocalypse is happening all over again. Enemy camps look like they were built from rust, bones, and bad decisions, and the whole desert feels like it wants you gone. But the real star is the car combat, ramming enemies, ripping doors off with the harpoon, smashing convoys at full speed. Every impact has this heavy, satisfying crunch. And as your car evolves, the wasteland slowly becomes your hunting ground. Max barely talks, and that's perfect, because the silence says enough. If you skipped this one, go back. Mad Max is rough, loud, lonely, and absolutely worth playing. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is one of those licensed games people were ready to dismiss before even giving it a chance. And honestly, I get it. We've all seen big movie tie-ins that feel like cash grabs, but this one actually understands the most important thing about Avatar Pandora itself has to feel alive. And here, it really does. The forests glow at night, plants react when you move past them, massive creatures wander through the world like they belong there, and every cliff, river, and floating mountain feels built to make you stop and just stare. What makes it even more interesting is that you play as a Na'vi raised by humans, so you're not instantly connected to the culture or the land. You have to learn it, how to hunt properly, how to read the ecosystem, how to move through the world with respect instead of just taking from it. And when you finally take flight on a Banshee, the game gives you one of those rare open-world moments that actually feels magical. It's not perfect, but Pandora deserved way more attention. Days Gone. Days Gone is one of those games that got judged too quickly, because once it finally opens up, it becomes something way more gripping than people gave it credit for. You play as Deacon St. John, a biker drifting through a broken Pacific Northwest where beauty and misery sit side by side. Misty forests, abandoned roads, ruined towns, and freakers everywhere waiting to swarm. And yes, the hordes are the headline feature, but they're not just big zombie crowds. They're full-on survival puzzles in motion. You're studying the terrain, setting traps, planning escape routes, counting ammo, and praying your bike is close enough when everything goes wrong. The first time a horde cuts off your exit, it's pure panic. But what really makes Days Gone work is the atmosphere. Deacon muttering to himself on the road, the world slowly changing as you clear camps, the story quietly building into something more emotional than expected. It all adds up. It starts slow, but if you stay with it, Days Gone absolutely earns its place. Rage 2. Rage 2 is one of those games that makes way more sense when you stop expecting a deep open-world RPG and start treating it like a pure combat playground. Because the story, yeah, it's thin, but the shooting, that's where the game wakes up. This is id Software gunplay dropped into a loud, radioactive wasteland, and every weapon feels like it was built to ruin someone's entire day. Shotguns hit hard, enemies explode with impact. And once the nanotrite powers kick in, the whole game becomes this violent rhythm of dashing, slamming, blasting, and chaining kills until Overdrive turns you into a walking disaster. The world isn't your usual brown and gray apocalypse either. It's hot pink, electric blue, dusty, ugly, weird, and proud of it. And when you find those hidden arcs, unlocking new weapons and powers actually feels like a reason to explore instead of just clearing map icons. Rage 2 may not be remembered for its story, but when the combat starts flowing, it's chaotic, stylish, and ridiculously satisfying. Outcast: A New Beginning. Outcast: A New Beginning is the kind of sequel that almost feels punished for being tied to a game most people forgot existed. The original Outcast was way ahead of its time back in 1999, but because that legacy isn't exactly loud today, this 2024 follow-up slipped past way too many players. You return as Cutter Slade thrown back onto an alien world he once saved, only to find it being exploited by a human corporation draining the planet for resources. And the world itself is the real hook here. Strange gravity, glowing forests, ancient ruins, alien cultures, and landscapes that feel just familiar enough to explore, but weird enough to never feel safe. Then the jetpack kicks in, and suddenly the whole game changes. You're boosting across cliffs, skating over terrain, chaining jumps, and moving through the world with this loose, satisfying rhythm that makes basic traversal feel alive. Cutter's old-school sarcasm won't work for everyone, but it fits a man out of time. Outcast didn't need more polish as much as it needed more people talking about it. Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive feels like Insomniac looked at every serious, gray, grounded open-world game and said, yeah, what if we did the exact opposite? You're dropped into a city destroyed by a mutant outbreak caused by an energy drink, and instead of treating it like some tragic apocalypse, the game turns the whole thing into a neon-colored playground of chaos. The magic is the movement. You're grinding on rails, bouncing off cars, wall running across buildings, flipping through the air, and blasting mutants without ever touching the ground for more than a second. Standing still doesn't just feel boring, it feels wrong. The entire game pushes you to keep moving, keep chaining, keep turning combat into this ridiculous flow of speed, color, and noise. And when it clicks, it feels incredible. The writing constantly makes fun of game cliches without becoming annoying. The weapons are absurd in the best way, and the city has this loud comic book energy that never slows down. Sunset Overdrive didn't just deserve more attention, it deserved to become a movement. The Saboteur.
Fuck that one!
The Saboteur is one of those forgotten open-world games that feels like it should have become a cult classic much sooner. You play as Sean Devlin, an Irish racing driver trapped in Nazi-occupied Paris, carrying a grudge that turns into a one-man war against the occupation. But what makes this game special isn't just the setting. It's the way the city itself reacts to hope. Areas under Nazi control are drained into black and white, like an old war film, with only flashes of red armbands, burning fires, and enemy lights cutting through the darkness. Then, as you sabotage towers, help the resistance, and push back district by district, color slowly bleeds back into Paris. It's such a simple idea, but it makes every act of rebellion feel visible, like you're literally painting life back into the world. Add rooftop chases, cabarets, jazz clubs, explosions, and that pulpy World War II revenge energy, and the Saboteur becomes something genuinely unique. It never got the sequel it deserved, but it absolutely deserves to be remembered. Immortals: Fenyx Rising. Immortals: Fenyx Rising is one of those games people dismissed way too fast because, yes, you can clearly feel the Breath of the Wild inspiration. The climbing, the stamina, the gliding, the puzzle vaults, but writing it off as just a copy completely misses what makes it special. This game has its own goofy, chaotic, mythological heart. The whole adventure is narrated by Zeus and Prometheus, constantly arguing like two ancient gods stuck on the world's weirdest road trip. And somehow, it actually works. The humor lands, the gods are treated like absolute disasters, and honestly, that feels closer to Greek myth than most serious adaptations ever get. But beneath all the jokes, there's a genuinely fun open-world game here. The vault puzzles are smart without dragging on forever, the world is colorful and inviting, and the combat gets surprisingly satisfying once your powers open up. It came out at the wrong time and got buried, but if you want a light, generous, adventure-filled open world with real personality, Immortals deserved way more love. Outward Definitive Edition. Outward doesn't treat you like the chosen one. It treats you like a broke traveler who made one bad decision and now has 5 days to pay off a debt before life gets even worse. And honestly, that tells you everything about this game. You're not a legendary hero with destiny glowing around you. You're just a normal person trying to survive a world that does not care if you're ready. You need food, water, sleep, warmth, medicine, and actual preparation before every journey. There's no easy fast travel safety net, so crossing the map feels like a real expedition, where one wrong turn, one storm, or one bandit ambush can turn your whole plan into disaster. But that's also why it becomes so memorable. Every trip feels earned. Every mistake becomes a story, and in co-op, it gets even better. Two underprepared idiots bleeding in the snow, desperately trying to cook a meal or craft a bandage, somehow becomes unforgettable. Outward is rough, demanding, and sometimes exhausting, but if you want an RPG where survival actually means something, this one hits different.
Can I help you?
Subnautica. Subnautica doesn't scare you by throwing monsters in your face. It scares you by making you curious. You crash onto an alien planet where almost everything is ocean, and at first, it feels peaceful. The water is bright, the fish are strange, and you're just gathering resources, building a tiny base, trying to survive another day. But then you swim a little farther, then a little deeper. The sunlight starts fading, the music shifts, and suddenly you realize there's no ground beneath you, just endless blue and something moving in the dark. That's where Subnautica becomes unforgettable. It never grabs your hand or screams, "Go here." It simply whispers, "What do you think is down there?" And somehow, even when every instinct tells you to turn back, you keep diving. The base building, the submarines, the alien ecosystem, everything feels connected, alive, and terrifyingly believable. It's survival, mystery, and pure underwater dread wrapped into one beautiful nightmare. Go in blind and trust me, this game will stay with you. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is what happens when a game stops pretending to be serious and just fully commits to being the most ridiculous 80s action movie ever made. It's short, loud, neon-soaked, and somehow more memorable than a lot of massive open worlds twice its size. You play as Sergeant Rex Power Colt, which already tells you everything you need to know, in a cyber war zone filled with lasers, bad jokes, VHS-style menus, and enemies who feel like they escaped from a forgotten sci-fi movie poster. And the best part? The game knows exactly how dumb it is, but it never feels lazy. The comedy actually lands, the synthwave soundtrack goes insanely hard, and the whole world feels like one big love letter to cheesy action cinema. Then you get to the Blood Dragons, giant laser-shooting dinosaurs you can lure into enemy bases by throwing hearts. That's not a cutscene, that's gameplay. It's only 5 or 6 hours long, but it never wastes your time. Blood Dragon is pure chaos, pure style, and honestly, pure fun. Dead Rising 4.
Looks like Obscurus might not be the only ones interested in zombie science. Only thing is, they're using human test subjects. Investigate, then shut it down.
Dead Rising 4 is a messy, controversial, totally chaotic Christmas zombie sandbox. And honestly, that's exactly why it works. Frank West is back in Willamette. The mall is dressed up with holiday lights, fake snow, decorations, and festive music. Except now every corner is packed with the undead, turning the whole place into the world's most ridiculous holiday nightmare. And yeah, longtime fans had issues with this one, especially because the classic timer pressure is basically gone. But for what Dead Rising 4 is trying to be, that change actually makes sense. Instead of constantly racing against the clock, you're free to just explore, experiment, and cause absolute nonsense with whatever weaponized junk you can build. The exosuits make you feel like a walking disaster, the combo weapons are still stupid in the best way, and the mall setting gives everything this weirdly fun horror comedy energy. It's not the deepest game here, but if you want pure zombie chaos with Christmas lights on top, Dead Rising 4 is way more fun than people admit. Bleak Faith Forsaken. Bleak Faith Forsaken is the kind of game where the world itself feels like the real boss. And the wildest part is, only 3 people made this. 3. That alone is insane when you see the scale of what they built. The game drops you inside the Omnistructure, a massive decaying megastructure that feels like it has swallowed the remains of countless dead civilizations. One moment you're walking through Gothic stone halls, the next you're surrounded by rusted machinery, brutalist towers, broken industrial tunnels, or places that feel almost alive in the worst possible way. Nothing fits together cleanly, and that's exactly why it works. It feels ancient, wrong, and completely indifferent to your existence. The combat has that Souls-like rhythm: dodge, read the enemy, punish, survive. But honestly, the world is the reason you keep going. Every area feels like a fragment of something long dead, and you're just passing through its corpse. Bleak Faith is strange, rough, haunting, and deeply impressive for what it is. 3 people made this, and somehow it feels huge. Atomfall. Atomfall is one of those open-world games that feels unsettling before anything even attacks you. Set in an alternate history 1960s England, it drops you inside a quarantine zone after a nuclear disaster inspired by the real wind scale incident. And immediately, something feels wrong. Not loud, not explosive, just wrong in that quiet British way where everyone speaks politely while hiding something terrible underneath. You wake up with no memory, surrounded by countryside that should feel peaceful. Stone walls, green hills, old villages, local fairs, but every friendly face feels like they know more than they're saying. Instead of giving you a normal checklist, the game hands you leads, rumors, clues, half-truths, and lets you decide who to trust. Scientists, soldiers, locals, cult-like groups. Everyone has their own version of the truth, and none of it feels clean. That's what makes Atomfall so interesting. It's not just about surviving the zone, it's about peeling back the calm surface of a place that's been rotting from the inside for a long time.
Somebody killed a